Hello everybody, welcome to Kurt's Works, and this being a new series, I'll give you a little rundown on what to expect. Now, I take one of my favorite planes from World of Planes, and I get some really cool information on the internet, and I pair it up with some even more fascinating footage from the game. And then I ramble on for how long it takes to get through all the stuff I wrote down on my Word document. And you learn a bunch of cool stuff, and hopefully that'll get you fascinated into planes in general. The Messerschmitt Bf-109, often called the Me-109 by most Allied pilots and air crews, was a German World War II fighter designed by Willy Messerschmitt and Robert Leuchter during the early 1930s. It was one of the first truly modern fighters of the era. It included such features as all-metal monoplane construction, a closed canopy, retractable landing gear, and a powered by a liquid-cooled inverted V12 aero engine. The Bf-109 first saw operation status during the Spanish Civil War and was still in service at the dawn of the jet age during the end of World War II. During that time, it was the backbone of the Luftwaffe fighting force. From the end of 1941 onward, the Bf-109 was supplemented by the Focke-Wulf Fw-190. It was just in general a better plane, but don't count that Me-109 out because people just kept redesigning it, adding more cool stuff. So it still performed well. Originally conceived as an interceptor, later models were developed to fulfill multiple tasks, serving as bomber escorts, fighter bombers, day-night bombers, all-weather fighters, ground attack aircraft, reconnaissance aircraft, you name it, it probably had a variant. It was supplemented and operated by several states during World War II, and served with many countries for many years after the war. The Bf-109 was the most produced fighter of any aircraft in history, with a total of 34,000. That's insane. I can't believe it. From 1936 to 1945, Germany produced it. Origins of the plane. During 1933, the technical department of the Reich Aviation Ministry concluded a series of research projects into the future of air combat. The results of the study were divided into four broad outlines. These requirements are as followed. The fighter needs to have a top speed of 250 miles an hour at 9,690 feet. To be maintained for 20 minutes, also while having a total flight duration of 90 minutes. The critical altitude of 20,000 feet was to be reached in no more than 17 minutes, and the fighter was to have an operational ceiling of 30,000 feet. In 1934, Germans were showing off their new airplanes in a speed battle. Unfortunately, two crashes prior to Willy Messerschmitt's entry time, he had to downsize. Instead of showing two aircrafts, he only showed his prototype Bf-109. While Willie's design didn't win the contest, it was the fastest plane out there. The problem, it couldn't keep that speed for long. The government representatives there were impressed with the design and gave Messerschmitt the green light on a prototype fighter to replace its aging biplanes. Now, knowing what went wrong, Messerschmitt souped up his engine and made it extremely fast. He also cut down the wing size to make it. The German Air Ministry requires 2 machine guns, so Messerschmitt put 4 as a standard. The prototype made its first flight in September of 1935 at Oshburg-Hanstein. Ironically, it was powered by an imported British Rolls-Royce Kessler engine, as jumbo engines were not available. The jumbo engine, that's the engine that the Germans produced. It performed well enough to quickly eliminate its chief competitors. Following an impressive series of demonstration flights, the 109 was finally ordered into full-scale production. The Spanish Civil War. Germany had a big role in the Spanish Civil War. They were supplying the nationalists. Older biplanes were sent, and the Germans quickly found out that the Russians had been supplying the other side of superior biplanes, and it looked grim for the nationalists, but a decision to send 3 prototype Bf-109s were sent to Spain. The plane hadn't seen an enemy for quite some time, and were shipped back, but the pilots who flew these planes knew that they were far superior to what anything they. When Germany finally shipped more planes to Spain, the Messerschmitt proved their immediate superiority, especially at high altitudes. There were never many employed here, but the achieved success has nothing to smirk at. The specs of the plane. The wingspan was 32 feet, 62.1 inches. The length of the plane was 29 feet 7 inches. The height was 8 feet 6 inches. The empty weight was 5,952 pounds. The gross weight was 7,000 pounds. Its top speed and its second variation was 385 miles per hour. But eventually the Germans put a 2,000 horsepower engine in it, and it could go about 415 miles per hour. The ceiling max was 37,950 feet. Its maximum range was 373 miles. The engine horsepower was only 1,200 horsepower, but this is the B model, so it's to be expected. And its crew was only 1. The first available E models were made ready to the start of 1939. In September of that year, the Germans invaded Poland to formally begin World War II. Over 1,000 Bf-109 fighters were available and quickly outclassed. Conclusion. Over the years, more than 100 variants of the basic design were created, including modifications to introduced from the Spanish and the Chevs after the war. Larger and larger engines were installed, along with hundreds of pounds of additional equipment, and the tough little airframe took it. Examples from this was the final German operational version, the Bf-109K series. It had a 2,000 horsepower engine and a top speed of 415 miles per hour. Not too shabby for a design that began in 1934. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my video. Remember to subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of the new videos I'll be producing. Thanks.